More than 5 million acres of land were taken away from the original inhabitants since independence. More than 5 million acres of land.
For centuries, land in Kenya was a sacred legacy passed down through generations. But colonialism disrupted this balance, leading to an unequal land distribution driven by greed and power.
My family was evicted from their land in 1971 by none other than former GSO commandant Ben Gethi with the help of police.
Akapema, mwekele ile maratasi yote mko naye, mwekele wapi? Nikaambia hiyo watu tulikuwa naye, msitoe, hapa ni kunyaganywa, tunanyaganywa.
Hatugeteta kwa sababu wakati huo tunaelewa ni wakati gani na ilikuwa wakati president gani.
In Kenya today, if you want to know who has got political power, you don't have got to go any far. You look at the structure of land ownership.
We are out of cartels, fraudsters in those offices. Cartels in land.
But losing land isn't just about the land itself. It is also about losing a sense of belonging and identity.
Ametufanya sisi zote tu maskini ya Mungu. Na hii shamba ni yetu. Na ni kweli inasema ni wetu. Juu maandiko hii ni sawa.
This episode takes us deep into a land dispute and an enduring quest for justice that stretches over half a century.
I have tried to go to exile. I have informed the international community. I have informed the relevant authority here. So now, death is the only option.
In the heart of Kenya's vibrant history lies a story carved in the very soil that sustains its people. A story of land, legacy, and the unending pursuit of ownership that echoes through time.
When the British came inland, they were interested in land for settlers. And in 2 rounds of taking land after the First World War, 1914, 1918, and the second round after 1939, 45, the second round of taking over land, it left our people feeling that we have no alternative than to fight for our land. We have all this land taken over in all parts of this country, predominantly following the railway from Mombasa down to Kisumu. And you can see territory that was taken over. By the end of British colonial rule, nearly 10 million acres had been taken over from black people. And that was land that was very important.
While the British advertised farmland for white settlement, Kikuyu land hunger in their overcrowded reserves became intense.
Land was more than a piece of territory. It was a vital source of pride, security, and served as the foundation of families and communities, providing them with food, shelter, and livelihood. But the tides of history brought about shifts that redefined the way land was used and perceived, particularly in the light of Kenya's fight for independence.
For very many people who had joined the Mau Mau movement, they thought that independence will liberate the land. But that is not what happened. In 1963, you can see that the first government said land is for people who have money.
Any other citizen in Kenya is protected, right to their own property. We have the Bill of Right to protect every citizen in this country.
Land that had been brought back into the hands of the black people by the fight for independence became the property of a few people.
On 12th December 1963, Kenya became a self-governing state, completely independent.
As Kenya journeyed towards independence, a sense of hope flourished through the nation. However, the winds of change carried with them the harsh realities of power struggles. families, once nestled in the embrace of their ancestral lands, now found themselves in the margins. As colonial rule was drawing to a close, the families of the late Ndurere Muhunyo and the late Benjamin Ithinyai were bequeathed with a precious gift, an extensive piece of land spanning 303 acres by their employer, a white settler. Ndurere and Ithinyai played key roles within the firm. Ndurere served as the farm manager and Ithinyai his chef. The trio also managed a milk processing business at the time.
We are descendant of Ndurere Gathi and Ithinyai Naragoi, who are the milk processor from 1935 to 1964. Lakini wangeendelea isipokuwa the government which took over from Musungu Colonial, they mistreated our family and we became destitute. My family was evicted from their land in 1971 by none other than former GSO commandant Ben Gethi with the help of police. We have lost 4 members of the family because of this, and nobody wants to listen to us.
Against this backdrop of historical struggle stands David Kimengere, a living testament to the legacy of Ndurere and Ithinyai. As a descendant and grandchild, he carries the weight of past generations.
Kenyans, tomorrow, God willing, I will be back in my country. Na ninamshukuru Mungu kwa kuniweka uhai, kunipea nguvu, tangu nitoke Kenya na sasa niko Ulaya. Leo ni siku ingine, ninatarajia kurudi nyumbani. I am waiting for the clearance from the government of Israel so that I can be in Kenya tomorrow.
Forced into exile due to the conflicts surrounding this very land, David is back, his determination steadfast and unwavering.
Thayo. Thayo ikuyu. Wira no murite biu.
His return to this land isn't merely a personal choice. It's a resounding testament that the fight for justice isn't forgotten.
Si unaona tumetengeneza kila mtu hapa ako kazi.
Kila mtu iko
na kila mtu hapa atapata unga.
Through his presence and his fight, he carries the hopes, dreams and sacrifices of his ancestors, vowing to see their enduring legacy rightfully restored. Yet, the journey to reclaim justice has been a difficult one, marked by twists and turns.
Hii ndio title ya chaba ambaye inasema tuwe from tarehe 1 July 1938 to tarehe 1 mwezi wa 7 2937. Hii ndio ilikuwa title yetu ambaye hii ndio imepotea. Is the copy.
In April 2023, about 4 months before our visit to the disputed farmland, we met David more than 200 kilometers away within the comfort of his home in Nyandarua County.
Nilisaliwa upande ya Nyeri 1977 December na mzee anaitwa Waitito na my mother Jane Wangari Ndurere. Na I'm the first born. I'm a father of 3 children. My 2 boys one has just finished high school and the other one has just joined high school.
It's in this very space that he shares the harrowing tale of a battle marked by profound losses.
My grandpa, both of them, they were working in partnership with European. The guy called Fabian Wallis, who was that squadron in Air Force in UK. But when they find my grandpa, he was making cheese, but in a local way. In Kikuyu they say mashadi. he was expert on that. So when the white guy called Fabian Wallis saw the potential in this young men by then, they introduced partnership. So they started the modern cheese. When we get independence, he thought that he would go to his country because he was not sure what might happen. And he leased the land to our grandpa for 5 years. And he promised them if he goes, because he was feeling uneasy, if he goes and he finds that he can come back, he will come and formalize everything. True to his word, he came back in 1966, April, and he wrote them a conference letter, and also he transferred everything to their names.
Though the origin of the land's association with Ndurere and Ithinyai families is alleged to stretch back to the early 1930s, records indicate that the first title deed to the land, reference number 7381 IR 6406 Laikipia, was granted in 1947 to Arthur Gilbert. 4 years down the line, on 16th May 1951, the reins of the land's ownership were then transferred by Gilbert to his son Fabian Wallis. In 1964, Fabian left the farm and initiated a 5-year lease agreement involving both Ndurere and Ithinyai. The transfer duly recorded on the land's title under entry number 9 on the 7th of November 1964. In 1966, before the court in Thompson Falls, now known as Nyandarua Law Courts, Fabian finalized the transfer process through a conveyance letter, officially handing over the parcel to both of them as joint owners. But little did they know that trouble was looming ahead.
Askari walikuwa wanatumwa usiku, wanakuja wanabomoa nyumba zetu bila order, bila court order, na wakitushika wanatupeleka kotini Nyahururu kama mara 20 bila sababu. Sikuwa nalala kwa shamba, nilikuwa nalala kwa msito chini, nilikuwa nalala kwa miti, na usiku hiyo kila siku walikuwa wanakuja wanavamia nyumba, wanaharibu, wanachukua wengine wanawapeleka Nyahururu. Hakuna kesi ilikuwa inaendelea.
Hatugeteta kwa sababu wakati huo tunaelewa ni wakati gani na ndio ulikuwa wakati president gani. Hatugesema mambo mingi kwa sababu mweje naye kunyang'anya hii watu mali walikuwa pamoja hapa kwa hapa na mkubwa ya nchi.
Having spent 20 years in the roles of assistant and senior chief in the area, Timothy Wambugu was a first-hand witness to all that transpired.
Mwaka wa 1971 mwezi ya 8 ndio tulishangaa kuona ya kwamba GSU walikuja kwa hiyo shamba na wakaamurisha hawa watu yote walikuwa huko ndani ya familia mbili, Ithinyai na Ndurere, wakaambiwa watoke huko na wasirudie kitu kwa nyumba. Waliambiwa waweke mkono kwa kichwa ili wasiende, wasirudie kitu ingine, wasibebe kitu ingine. Ndio walihamurishwa na wengi wao wakawa IDP. Bwana Ben Gethi ndio alikuwa commissioner, na Bwana Gethi ndugu yake alikuwa anaamurisha hiyo watu kutoka kwa hiyo shamba ili shamba iwashwe ikiwa yake.
At the time, Fabian was residing in his Muthaiga home, but for reasons shrouded in mystery, the two families were unable to contact him until his demise in 1978. Driven by the need for clarity, both families sought answers from the land registry. It is here that they would stumble upon a puzzling detail within the title deed.
He tried to enter the entry as a gift from Fabian, and my family has been being confused. How affection? What was the connect between him and Fabian, so that he would have been given the land? And if he was to be given, there was no transfer. And also he was to be given the families who were given before, they could have made it to surrender, which was not the case.
On 22nd July 1980, Benjamin Gethi's application for a title deed was cancelled. On 4th April 1982, an attempt to transfer the land to an entity by the name Senjemu Traders for 6 million shillings was also cancelled. The land registrar would then impose a caveat on the property, barring any further transactions. While this marked a victory for the families of Ndurere and Ithinyai, their problems were anything but resolved.
From what my grandpa used to tell me was that in 1974, thereabout, and 1975, they tried to approach the Member of Parliament, J.M. Kariuki, or he used to call him Joshua, that he helps them to reach the Mzee Jomo Kenyatta so that they can settle the conflict which was going on in Nyandarua. Around 1975, when they have alleged to see Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, the contact man who was a veterinary in Nyandarua, the same day he was to come and take my grandpa to Nairobi so that they can meet, they arrange how they will meet Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, he was brutally killed in his chamber.
As a member of parliament, J.M. Kariuki had rallied against corruption and fought for equitable land distribution in the country. In one of his infamous quotes, J.M. claimed that Kenya was becoming a nation of 10 millionaires and 10 million beggars.
We know that your government is committed to bring the African into the field of commerce and business. We have accepted this challenge with your blessing.
According to the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission TJRC report, J.M. Kariuki was assassinated in 1975 for political reasons. The commission found that members of the police and the special branch were directly involved in his assassination. Among the individuals implicated in J.M.'s murder was Ben Gethi.
He has been using entries to benefit his family, particularly Ndurere Muhunyo, who was a beneficiary of the land as it was reading from the land's ministry.
According to official land records, the caveat placed on the land was lifted in 2001. Simultaneously, Gethi's widow Angela Wairimu Gethi was granted probate over her husband's will of the estate and appointed executor. The property was subsequently transferred to her as a beneficiary. In July 2010, ownership was further transferred to an entity named Muro Limited. As per the Registrar of Companies, Angela Wairimu Gethi, Peter Nderitu Gethi, and John Moriah Gethi serve as the directors of Muro Limited, with Nia Moja Limited and Nabange Limited as shareholders. Nia Moja Limited's records indicate that the company was also registered in 2010, and Angela, Peter, and John continue to hold directorship positions within it. Furthermore, Nia Moja Limited is linked to 7 other companies, all sharing a common postal address with the directors. The consequences of these events continue to have a lasting impact in David's family.
We received a phone kutoka Nairobi from somebody, Peter Gethi. The phone was talking about some intruders who have gone to their shamba na wanakata miti. So tukakuta hiyo watu wakiwa ndani, walishikwa wakiwa na panga, walikuwa na soka na wakapelekwa kotini.
Maroma marauga ithuĩ administration ta maruta igoti-inĩ rĩa Nyeri High Court nigetha andũ aitũ matige kũharacwo nĩ borithi. Nĩ ithuĩ tũroya jukumu ya gũka kũmarehera engwe gĩa kũrĩa. Andũ ta mararĩte hama-inĩ teno, gũtirĩ ũrĩrĩ gũtirĩ kĩ, mũndũ arakoma thĩ akehumbĩra na kamũrĩngĩti rĩngĩ karĩa ahetwo makarara magĩtunyana na ciana ta ici nini.
I was in exile for 3 years. I'm a father of 3. I lost the fatherhood or that father position for 3 years. So I could not have guided them. I am a hawker by profession. Nobody in our family who has been employed because we don't have much education. My family Some are, as we are talking, they are destitute and residing in one of the slums in Thika, Kiadutu. Others are feeders along Nyeri streets because they could not have done anything. I have a lot of burden because sometimes you find they are hungry, sometimes they need to take their children to school, but we struggle. And if you look at it, from 1935 to 1964, the family was processing milk. So if we were allowed, if they didn't interfere with our business or what my family was doing, farming and processing milk, we would be somewhere today. But we are oppressed so that some people would stand on our table, throw us aside so that they benefit. And this has made us wallow in poverty.
Kitu kama maziwa, walikuwa nakamua maziwa, wanaskim hiyo maziwa, na tunaendelea wakiwa watu kama hawa wakiwa na mang'ombe kushinda 100 ni matajiri na busi mingi na shamba kubwa. Kwa hivyo tulionelea kama tulikuwa na tamani kama tutaweza kaa kama hawa, tutaweza kuwa watu wazuri. Mimi nasikia huruma kwa hawa kwa sababu ni watu walikuwa na vitu, na wakati huu wanatawanyika, kila mtu akijitafutia riziki, na ni watu walikuwa na mali.
Since the 1971 evictions, the two families never returned and remained landless, while the Gethi family took over and have remained in possession to date.
There are a lot of cases involving land in Nyandarua. One of the cause of that problem is the issue of issuance of the title deeds, overlapping ones, thrice to one piece of land. It happens at the registry office. We have a lot of cartels, fraudsters in those offices. Cartels in land. And again, those people, they also, they don't do such things alone. It's not there from inside. So those people were employed to serve these Kenyans on the issue of land. These are people now who are letting down the Kenyans.
This list just contains about 1,000 entities and names of those who acquired land illegally from the Republic of Kenya. And in this list, you will not find Honorable Halwale, Senator Halwale's name there. You will not find the name of Junaid Mohammed's name there. But you will find the name of the Deputy President in this list.
The Kenyatta family ended up owning 500,000 acres of land.
We have not, in any place, acquired any land illegally, except through willing buyer, willing seller, and to use it as a means of production.
There's public perception that associates you with a rather good appetite for acquisition of property, particularly lands. And this has been mentioned many times.
Allegations are made, left, right, and center. Any piece of land that I have is legally acquired.
There is a very clear relationship between land and political power. And the reason for that is that whoever has got more land tends to have even more political power. In Kenya today, if you want to know who has got political power, you don't have got to go any far. You look at the structure of land ownership. I don't think there is anyone with less than 1,000 acres or with more than 1,000 acres of land who is not in politics or who is not in a politically powerful position.
Today, the kind of things you are told happening, and there's going to be our 60th year of independence, not even any government would want to look at it in the face. You'll never be able to explain. You can only feign they don't know. But after 60 years, and the 5 presidents, each one of them should be ashamed. And that is what has happened to our country. 60 years after struggle for liberation of our land, it's more chaotic today, I believe, than what it was before.
Nimeandikia director ambaye tunangoja, ambaye nimewapelekea zile document Ben Gethi wanatumia. Nimeunderline OB zote zile nimetumia, zile gari zilikuwa zinatufuata, nini ilikuwa usiku wanakuja, walikuwa order inatoka wapi. Yote nimepea judiciary.
Each document that David presents tells a story of the lands they've gone to and the anguish that has plagued his family. And though he's at the front line in this relentless struggle, the story doesn't begin or end with him. Within the family is another pillar of strength, one who also serves as an administrator of the disputed estate.
Mimi naitwa John Godho Ndurere na ninaishi hapa Nyandarua. Baba yangu alikuwa anaitwa Ndurere Muhunyo. Mama yangu alikuwa anaitwa Elizabeth Wajiro wa Ndurere. Kwa hivyo nimesaliwa hapa tu 1956. Nimelelewa hapa mpaka nikakuwa kijana mkubwa.
This family's quest for justice is like a lifelong marathon. Yet, with each passing year, the effects of this land dispute ripple through from one generation to the next, leaving scars that extend far beyond the boundaries of the ancestral home. Many years later, they still find themselves trapped in poverty and a cycle of fear, unable to break free.
Sasa ile kuna mvua hii inakuja, na saa hiyo ujue kulikuwa na mvua na baridi. Saa hiyo unaona tu manyumba yote baridi nini yote. Unaona kweli ni binadamu na hii mali ni yao. Binadamu unaona tu wanalala kama nini, kama sijui tuseme ubwa au nini. Haya, ukiona hii nyumba sasa Upedo, mtu alikuwa na kichwa iko hapa, mguu iko hapa. Sasa unaona hapa kama unakanyaga, unalala hapa, wengine wanalala hapa, wanakanyaganya tu. Baada ile tu, ili muache kajia, hata kama ni wewe utalala hapa wiki moja. Si utachikwa na nini hii, na asma. Ndio unaona sisi saa yote, unaona hiyo mama wazee hapo wanakohoa juu ya baridi. Sasa ukifikiria saa ile tunakaa tu usiku, tunasikia hiyo maneno yote, unasikia tena ukifanya hiyo nini, unasema kumbe kitu ni yetu haki kweli, na unachikwa na itabu yote, unalala kama nguruwe.
Amidst every challenge, they continue to persevere. However, their story wasn't always one of hardships.
Hapa kutoka 1968 hapa tulikuwa tunacheza sana 1968. Kwa kijana yote huko Dhigio tulikuwa tunachezea pale kiwanja kubwa sana hapa mpira. Mpira tunakuta kwanza Saturday tunakutana hapa mcheza mpira. Sasa hiyo ng'ombe area hiyo inakura mpaka huko. Unaona kutoka hapa. Sasa upeleke na hii miti unaona iko straight mpaka pale. Kulikuwa kuma fence. Hii ilikuwa boma hii yote mpaka huko ya ng'ombe inakujia tena hapa. Sasa nyumba ilikuwa hapa ya mzee, ya baba hapa juu, na ndio ilikuwa ya room 6, ndio yote ilichomwa hapa. Si unaona hata hii, ukiona hii ni barabara si unaona hii ilikuwa barabara hii sasa area hii yote mpaka huko ilikuwa pale ya kuchunga.
In 2018, after 47 years, the families of Ndurere and Ithinyai returned to this farm, driven by the hope of resettlement and a chance to rebuild their lives. Today, Godho stands firmly on this land that has and continues to witness their joys, struggles and dreams. But their presence here is not by choice. It's out of necessity, as they have nowhere else to go.
Sasa niambiaga niende wapi? Na hapa ndio nimezaliwa. Mshangaa tu. Unaona hii kitu ya akina mama inaitwa tunaitaka jogo. Unaona ukizaliwa iko kitu ile natoago inatu ikifanywa nini mimi iko hapa. Sasa niambia niende wapi? Kwani naona hii Kenya inakuwa baya sana juu ile mtu hana nguvu anaumia bure.
Kutoka siku hiyo tulianza hii chaba, ile mateso tuliona ni mingi. Na mimi sijatoka. Wasigari yote wanakuja wanakuta mimi wapi?
Margaret Wahito Ndurere is Ngotho's elder sister. She has endured countless trials throughout this journey. After her husband's passing, Wahito returned home to continue with the fight for their land. With the limited resources she and her husband had accumulated, Wahito had no choice but to become the family's breadwinner.
Kazi gumu, shida gumu. Watoto kama hawa kufea chakula na hakuna pahali unalima. Nikaamua siku moja mimi sitakula taabu tena. Sasa hii pesa niko nayo bwana, nitafanya nini? Si ni watuza hii watoto. Nikaigia nikafika pombe. Nasikia pombe. Nikauza miaka gapi? Si 4. Miaka gapi? Miaka 40. Naona miaka 40. Saida nilimalizia hiyo, ndio watoto wote walikuwa wanakuwa wakubwa. Sasa kumaliza si baba yangu sasa tuko nao. Najiona wasee wakikosa hii mali ya ng'ombe nini si anachiko na akachiko na hiyo kitu. Kapelekwa Nyahururu kurudi akakufa.
In 2009, Benjamin Ithinyai passed away, followed by his wife's tragic death in a mysterious fire. In 2010, Ndurere Muhunyo also passed away, and 6 years later, his wife followed. Ngotho, together with a few family members, immediately assumed the responsibility of carrying on his parents' battle for the land. With his parents absent, Ngotho now carries an even greater burden of safeguarding his family's legacy.
Baba yangu na mama yangu wote walikuwa naomba Mungu. Mungu akapatia nguvu ya kufanyia mzungu nini? Kazi. Naye akasikia kama roho mzuri, akapatia zawadi kwa hii shamba. Wazazi wako walikufa tu na kilio. Naona, brasa zangu wote walikufa na kilio kwa kupigwa. Sasa mimi naelekea tu kuondoka tu. Nakaribia miaka yangu ya kuondoka. Sasa mtawachia wajukuu wangu wapi? Sasa wajukuu wetu, watoto wetu wataanzia kwenda barabara tu. Na mali ni yao ya kukaa. Na ametufanya sisi zote tu maskini ya Mungu. Na hii shamba ni yetu. Na ni kweli inasema ni wetu. Juu maandiko hii ni sawa. Kwa hivyo mimi kwa historia hii shamba tumeona sana. Na tumejaribu. Lakini hata tukienda wapi hatuna pesa.
Nilikuwa na chaba ilichukuliwa. Watoto yangu wako nje. Hakuna nguo. Nitafanya nini? Unaenda wapi? Si unaomba Mungu na kuenda kwa ile serikali unaenda ni wale wako na pesa. Unawaambia wewe ngoja. Hiyo maneno tutaangalia.
Naonelea serikali kwa sababu tunaifanya na tunaipenda. Ifuatilie hii makesi ya mashamba na ijue ya kwamba kiini ya hiyo kesi ni nini. Kwa sababu mengi ya makesi kama hiyo mtu ule hana uwezo, ako na haki, lakini mtu wa kumtetea hakuna.
His statements resonate with a larger question in Kenya. Are all Kenyans equal before the law?
I think that is mainly a political problem. I think it is a political problem because the people who dispossess others when they have got the right documentation, there are people who do that because they have got the political protection. Whatever was done by Kenyatta according to the subsequent presidents, they have always said that we follow in his footsteps. It was famous during the Moi period that fuata nyayo. Fuata nyayo means go in Kenyatta's footsteps. And when Kibaki came to power in 2003, even himself, he said, kazi iendelee.
In what seems to have been a fight against power, money and privilege, this family holds what it says is extensive evidence of their claims. Ownership documents, once symbols of security, have now become vital tools in their efforts to get their land back.
And there was a time they were asked for original title deed so that they can change it to modern. And when it was taken to other house, it didn't return to them. So it was taken away.
Bwana DC yangu ule tulikuwa naye aliniamurisha niandike statement ya hiyo shamba na vile nawajua na vile najua ni yao. Tarehe 8 mwezi ya 7 2015 tuliitwa na county katika maofisi yao ili tutoe ushahidi ya kujua ya kwamba hiyo shamba ilikuwa ya Ndurere Muhunyo.
On the 23rd of June 2017, Maina Mushina, a friend of the Ndurere and Ithinyai families, provided a sworn affidavit supporting the claim that the original title deed was indeed submitted with the intention of obtaining a new and updated version. Since their return to the farm 5 years ago, the Ndurere and Ithinyai families have experienced a period of relative peace and made efforts to rebuild their lives. But this newfound peace is delicate. Despite living here, they are confined to a portion of the land, constructing makeshift shelters along the road in order to stay vigilant against abrupt changes or evictions.
Sasa hapa tuko na miaka tena, kutoka tena tuingilie. Naona? Na ndio sasa unaona tumelima. Zamani kulikuwa hakuna kulimo. Tumeanzia kulima, tumepanda hata miti. Hii miti ni ya zamani. Pande nyingine tumelima, tumeona manyumba pande hii ya kijana imebomolewa. Sijui mameneja tu kubomoa na akagi hapa. Kutoka tutoke hapa. Hakuna mtu amekaa hapa hiyo mama. Ni ndugu yake hii ya mzee na zaidi alifunguzwa, hakuna mtu mwingine amekaa, ni matajiri tu ile wanataka kunyakua hicho.
In the face of these difficult surroundings, we follow the family as they attempt to access the part of the property that has been off limits to them. It takes us approximately 10 minutes to reach the property. Upon arrival, we introduce ourselves to the guards and without delay, the negotiations begin.
Kujeni nyinyi wawili. Lakini si umeshika? Now you have seen what we go through. Hakuna mtu ya Ben Gethi yako nyumbani ati ndiye tunakwenda kufuata. Ni order tu wameambiwa. Wawe wanalida. This is our matrimonial home. Abaye none of the Ben Gethi family ako kwa hii. Ni hawa tu wa Saburu. Sasa hawa wakiwa, next time tutakuta wengine.
The debate extends for nearly 2 hours as David and his family strive to reach an agreement that would allow us a glimpse into the compound that was once their home. Finally, after intense deliberation, a select few from the family along with our crew are granted access for a brief moment. David and Godho guide us through the property, every step filled with a mix of hope and nostalgia.
Hii ilikuwa ya ng'ombe, sikienda huko chini. Sisi na pale chini ilikuwa mashine. Sasa hii ndio nilikuwa nimesema tukuje tuanzie kukaa, tufanye mambo yetu. Lakini hii alikataa.
Watu ya kazi hapa nilikuwa tunakaa tu hapa na mzungu. Sasa ile mzungu alienda, na hizi tukakuwa tunakaa wapi? Familia nazo hapa.
Sasa kwa hapa ndio ilikuwa Chaba Boy. Hapa nje ndio ilikuwa Chaba Boy na ndio Chuchu alikuwa mmoja wa kupanda maua. Kwa hii boma, hii ndio tulikuwa tumesema watufungulie. Ndio sasa tuanze maisha yetu kwa the matrimonial home. Na ambaye saa hii umeona kwa gate wanaweka tu askari ambao ni Saburu ambao hata they have no idea. Kwa hivyo this since 1971 imekuwa hivyo. Hakuna mtu anakuja kukaa, wao hawakai, sisi hatukai. Sasa inakaa hivyo.
Wala tulikuwa tunakulia mkate. Hapa hii temporary iko hapa juu. Hapa sasa mkukuja tu na kukaa tu saa ile. Wanataka kusikia wote alijua.
In the few minutes that we explored the property, we saw the depth of the battle they fight. It's not just about the land, but the struggle to reclaim a part of their history.
We have not seen over the years the government becoming very active in terms of addressing these land questions here. And it's simply because these are historical injustices. There is a need for the colonial government to come publicly and say, we apologize for those historical injustices. They have already done that about Mau Mau, if I'm not wrong. But there is a need to go a step further and say that we also apologize for the trauma of loss of land rights in this country.
The British government recognises that Kenyans were subject to torture and other forms of ill treatment at the hands of the colonial administration. The British government sincerely regrets that these abuses took place.
There are those legislation that have been put in place. For example, the Land Act, Land Registration Act, National Land Commission Act. This act are very well, if authority will be enforced, be followed. Then it is that are mandated to see the issue of land are solved, like the county land board, the tribunal acts. These ones, if they do their work correctly, as supposed to be, then we will not be in such a mess.
The government has got the opportunity, it has got the capacity to create titles on land that cannot be sold by any individual. Create like a title for a family or families in this country. It is not a bad thing to do, because the alternative is just having people who are squatters or staying out or being disempowered, and that is what our government should be about.
Following decades of tireless struggle, a pivotal moment emerged in 2018, bringing David's family within touching distance of the justice they had passionately pursued.
I can say this without fear of contradiction, because we won the case the first allowed, and they were barred from ever entering to the land. But up to date, they have their goons in our matrimonial home, where they don't allow us to go and continue doing farming, and so that we can enjoy the whole land. I've gone from one office to the other to show that, but most of them, they say that their hands are tied.
On 5th September 2018, the Ndurere Ithinyai families initiated legal action against Gethi's widow and Moral Limited, with the objective to confirm their ownership of the land and obtain a permanent injunction against the Gethi family, their farm employees and representatives from trespassing or disrupting their land use. The Nyahururu Environment and Land Court ruled in favor of the Ndurere and Ithinyai families. However, their victory was short-lived when the judge revised the verdict on 5th May 2020 following a counterclaim by the Gethis. Subsequently, ownership of the land was reverted to the Gethi family.
So we were served with the order. We identified and see it actually originated from the court. So we followed the due process, and now we are waiting for the day to strike. Strike here means we have given them enough time from September last year up to this date. That's pleading with them that, look, the court has said this and this. Should we have anything, just forward your whatever to the court so that you can be listened to. But ours is just to provide security to the auctioneers so that they can carry out their work.
Inaniuma sana kwa sababu mwenye akona haki ndiye anadhulumiwa hii Kenya. Ukipeleka makaratasi fake, kwa sababu jina yako inajulikana, wewe unashikiliwa kama wewe ndiye prince, lakini yule haki yake inadhulumiwa, anafukuzwa kwa ofisi kwa sababu hana mtu wa kumpeleka. Na ndio tunasema corruption inaweza malizika hii nchi, watu wale wako kwa ofisi wakielewa they are people servant.
Ile kilifanya mimi nisimame na uhaki ni moja, ya kwamba kujua hata ukinyakua vitu yote ya dunia hii hawezi toshelea wewe. Kwa hivyo ile kitu ilikuwa mzuri na mimi nifanye haki, niseme haki na niseme vile najua. Watu wale wanafanya kazi wakati huu, fanyia watu kazi na roho safi, na usitegemee kitu kutoka kwa mtu ule unafanyia, na uwe ukijua ya kwamba hata ukishukua yote hakuna pahali utaipeleka.
Africa Uncensored reached out to Peter Gethi, Ben Gethi's son, a defendant in the Muro Farm case, alongside Angela Wairimu, the wife to Ben Gethi, for a right of reply against the accusations made by the families of Ndurere and Ithinyai over the Muro Farm dispute. We also reached out to Kitheka and Company advocates, their legal representatives in this case. By the time of this publication, we had not received any reply from the Gethi family or their legal team. Our phone calls were also not answered. According to a letter dated 30th July 2018 issued by the Chief Land Registrar, the last genuine entry on the firm was the transfer of the lease from Fabian to Ndurere and Ithinyai on 7th November 1964. However, concerning the ownership dispute over land parcel reference number 7381 IR 6406 Laikipia, the amended judgment by Judge Mary Oundo on 5th May 2020, which reinstated ownership to the Gethi family, remains in effect unless stated otherwise.
The majority of my family are poor, and if they don't get justice, they will remain poor. So we will lack education, we will lack our rights, which is also enlisted in our Constitution, Article 24, that we have dignity, we have to live in dignity, and also we will lack our rights as stipulated in our Constitution, Article 40, that we can own the land. It was desire for my grandpas to see justice done. I am their grandson, I am their blood. So I will fight to the last drop of my blood until we get justice.
In the next episode, we delve into troubling stories of landowners and buyers in Kenya entangled in disputes concerning plots they have legitimately purchased.
We had rumors that somebody has fenced the property. We went and visited the site, and true, it was fenced.
Some grabbers who came along and actually developed their own titles, and this comes after we have bought.
It looked like fiction. You know, it is like a movie. To me, it looked like a movie, actually.
Guys, you cut to your karatasi.
How do you start rebuilding when someone has come to take away your own sweat, what you have sacrificed all your life for?
I don't know, maybe you do. I don't know of a single land fraud who has been convicted.
The way things are going, I don't think we're going to have a rule of law or a future here.